ain't the king of the temples too. Don't let them rise and make a fool of you. Let your soul feel whole and refuse to let them in. Let your light shine bright and learn to see again.
This is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings and all things Chicago Blackhawks. This is the Stick Blade Podcast with your hosts, Jordan Linscott, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Stick Blade Podcast. We have been on hiatus for the past couple months, really, with the whole off season and some technical stuff going on with the show, but we're back in full swing for the regular NHL season that's coming up here, 2024-2025 season is upon us. We're about 2 or 3 weeks out now from preseason before you finally start seeing all the growth that the prospects have had over the course of the summer. And their previous year was either in junior or just starting to make the professional world for themselves. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking about a couple things for the Detroit Red Wings and the Chicago Blackhawks. The Chicago Blackhawks had their prospect camp this past week. We're going to talk about a little bit of what we saw there, some of the players who kind of stood out. And then over on the Wings side of the podcast, we're going to be talking about the fact that Lucas Raymond, Moritz, Seider, and Jonathan Berggren, none of them have contracts for this upcoming year of the NHL. What that means for the Detroit Red Wings and the organization as of this moment, and kind of the signals that it seems to be sending off just across the team and the vibe right now in the fan base. But yeah, that's going to be our show for tonight mainly. Tim, David, how are you guys doing?
I mean, I'm thrilled. We are in September. We are in the middle of September now, and that means hockey's here, man. Like, it's coming. We had some prospect tournaments already. Preseason's going to be at the end of September. I could not be happier at this point.
I mean, yeah, I'm excited too. Hockey's upon us. Preseason's coming up very, very soon. I can't wait to be tuning in on ESPN Plus. That's my plug for it one time, to hear the Red Wings broadcast team throughout the season, unless they give me the blackout games, which are annoying, but can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait to maybe listen to the Chicago Sports Network if we get any information on that, which they keep saying is coming. But it's getting down to the point where, like, nobody knows it's coming, but will we be able to watch games?
That is such a weird position that the Chicago's in right now.
So weird, because it's not just the Hawks. Like, the Bulls. Like, nobody knows how this is going to launch. I know it sounds like we're going to miss at least the first half of preseason games. Will not be on it because it's allegedly launching in October. You would have thought they'd have a plan by now. They're still negotiating like carriage packages for TV. You'd think they knew this was coming. I don't know. It's so weird. So Nick and I will probably be ranting and complaining this entire season about that.
Yeah, can't wait.
So let's go and just dive into this thing. Let's start off with the Blackhawks because Tim, you guys actually have some somewhat happy news to talk about.
Yeah,
you guys had prospect camp this week. There's a little bit of not good news attached to it, but overall it's good news because you got a chance to look at your prospect group. The Wings also respectively had their prospects playing this weekend. They had a 5-1 game against the Stars. Yep. There's not really a ton for us to talk about because to be honest, the prospects aren't really what's mattering right now in Detroit. It's the pro players. So I'm going to talk about the Hawks though, because your guys' prospect pool actually does have the potential to be a long-term impact on the club.
100%. First off, I want to point out how interesting it is that you're saying prospects aren't the focus, because it does show how far we've come in the last couple years of like, no, we're looking at the roster and winning now in Detroit. Prospects are cool. That's the future. We're worried about something else. Last couple years, you've been like, so what do we have to be excited about? There's this guy, there's this guy. And that's where the Hawks are at right now. Like, prospect tournament, like, again, it's been the prospect week, development camp, the Thomas Curvers prospect showcase, which we do every year. We played the Wild and we played the Blues. And the big thing that I want to say is this is like the first year in 3 years that we've played the Wild and one of our players hasn't been concussed and knocked out for a series of times. So, like, it's not for lack of trying. The Wild get violent in that series, but like it is what it is. Man, my number one takeaway from this prospect tournament, and Jordan, this is going to be no surprise to you. The number one standout from this tournament was Frank Nazar.
Yeah.
I mean, his speed was on full display. It's so funny. The first game I wasn't able to watch, but I caught a bunch of highlights. The first game, it looked like he was flying, making plays. He took a really big hit from the Wild at one point, and he said his mindset was, I took the hit. I saw the guy coming. I was able to make a play to Ryder Rolston, and Ryder Rolston was able to score. He's like, I saw the defenseman coming, and I said, if he follows through on this hit, he's going to give Ryder a breakaway. Like, if he does that, that is a stupid move. I don't know what he's thinking, but then he did. Like, it all played out the way Nazar was looking at it, and, like, he himself said, had to get my legs in there, like felt rusty, got built up halfway through. Compared to everyone else, he looked phenomenal. And that next game against the Blues, he looked even better. His speed, his skill, I honest to God think that this kid is going to open up the roster on day one.
I keep going back to my comments. Like
that's what I think of every time I see Nazar do something cool. Is I think of you saying, Hawks won that draft. Like it was fantastic. Yeah. And I agree with you, Jordan. I'm trying to think. There's a couple other like big takeaways. I made some notes. Martin Misiak looked actually pretty nice. It looks like he's getting his development back on track with this prospect showcase. Paul Ludwinski was another standout, like visibly all over the ice. He's a very physical presence, high motor. That was on full display. And Colton Dock was the other one that I thought was a really big takeaway from this prospect series. He looked, again, he's a veteran among rookies and prospects, but he looked like a veteran now. He was having a leadership position. He was taking face-offs, sort of showing everyone on this prospect tournament how to be a pro and play the game the right way, which honestly, this is a big year for Colton Dock. I've seen him in Rockford. If he can stay healthy, he has bottom six, like third line potential with the Hawks as a power forward. So those are some of my big takeaways from it. Nazar looked absolutely stunning. Gavin Hayes had a beautiful goal, which is really because he had a quiet game against the Wild, but he turned it on against the Blues. And that kid's a goal scorer. If he's not scoring goals, I don't think he's going to be able to stick in the NHL. He doesn't have enough of the other side of the toolkit. But if he can find a way to keep scoring goals, that's his ticket into the show.
I think it's kind of interesting for the Hawks the way that they kind of are set up right now, because you guys kind of went through this offseason and you bought, I would consider, a lot of holdover players, right? Like guys who are everyday NHLers, and you're not going to have a bunch of prospects graduating to the NHL this year because you went out and spent money in free agency. But I do think what the Hawks kind of did was they did what Detroit did 2 years ago, where they bought players who were setting a bar of, if you want to make this NHL roster, you have to be better than player A, player B, and player C.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree with that. It's interesting contrasting last year to this year, because last year it was wide open. If you're a rookie, a prospect, and you think, hey, it's wide open, make your case, show what you can do. This year, the thing I like this year that I didn't like and critiqued a little bit when Detroit did it, but I like what the Blackhawks have done, aside from Bertuzzi and Teravainen, which are legitimate top six long-term pieces with us. Everyone else that they brought in was on 1 and 2 year deals. Mm-hmm. It was veterans who play the game the right way that make it a challenge. Because again, Pat Maroon, like Craig Smith, like there's a couple of people on there that I'm like, okay, cool. Bottom six or like 13th, 14th forward, awesome. But they're not going to prevent somebody from developing and moving forward if they can beat them. They've created competition without creating like damaging roadblocks. So to your point, Jordan, it's exciting to see this prospect showcase because I think there's somebody like Nazar. I think Nazar is the only one of the prospects that has a legitimate chance to get into the NHL this year outside of Levshinov, and I'll talk about Levshinov in a second. I haven't said his name yet. There's a reason for that. But I think everyone else is getting a taste of it. I think they'll get preseason action, get a taste of what's going on. I think Rockford is going to be thrilling this year. But I think Nazar, this prospect tournament wasn't a make or break for him to get into the league, but it set the right tone of, oh, he looks ready among his peers. Now let's see what's next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I was just looking through the Red Wings 2 games and our team sheets. You know, a lot of big names that are going to hopefully be knocking on the door. One especially is Nate Danielson.
I was waiting for that one.
Had 1 assist in the 2 games. The guy with the best name, Amadeus Lombardi, had 3 assists, 2 in the first game, 1 in the second.
Boy.
Not his scoring touch, because remember, we knew him from score goals with the Firebirds. Who you also know very well for your prospects there.
Yeah, 100%.
And then Alexander Doucette, who was a undrafted free agent we signed last year, who went to the Griffins, had 2 goals in the first game and an assist in the second game. So
that's
some interesting. And Nygaard, what's his name? I can never remember his name.
That was your 2024 draft pick, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The only name really missing from the sheet was ASP. ASP was not in the prospects tournament, as I believe he's still playing in Sweden.
He's still over in Sweden.
I think his season's already started. That makes sense. Because, we didn't have any of our Russian prospects or anything like that, or like college bound or anything like that. So good to hear about Amadeus Lombardi. I'm glad seeing him have a good turnout. Man, I want that kid to make it so bad just because of his name. It's stupid.
He'll be in the Griffins, I believe, starting.
He was on the Griffins at the end of, because I saw a game with him. I think there was a line of like Casper, Amadeus Lombardi, and Carter Mazer at one point, and I was like, oh, a bunch of their kids. This is great. Like, yeah, that was a blast of a game. So I'm excited for both the Griffins this year and Rockford based on their prospect pools and where these kids are at right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mentioned Artem Levshinov.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. He didn't play in the prospect tournament because he received a foot injury about a week or 2 ago during a practice. He took a puck to the foot. It happens. Good news is nothing serious. It's just rehabbing it. It's going to be a couple of weeks. He might miss the start of the regular season. Honestly, I think even if he got a taste of the NHL, he was the plan is for him to be in Rockford for the year. My understanding from what I'm seeing, what I've read, even just knowing where we're at with the defenseman we signed in the offseason, he's going to be best served in the AHL, top line minutes, and this foot injury is not going to stop that. It's a bummer that we didn't get to see him. I was really excited to like actually get to watch him for the first time on North American ice for me. But because again, I know he was at Michigan for that first year. But I'm excited. I'm excited for Levshinov. It's a bummer that I didn't get to see him in the prospect tournament, but he'll be back soon. Not a serious injury, but enough that it's worth talking about that our top defensive prospect, arguably one of our top prospects in the entire prospect pool, is injured. So there's that.
But the other thing is also like, yeah, it sucks that he's injured, but realistically, this should not change where he's at in your prospect rankings and like the expectations that you have for him long term. He's not going to take crazy steps back because he had an injury like this.
Because again, it's not like he's out for the season with like Nazar's injury that put him out a year or 2 ago, where he lost an entire season. Samuel Savoie missed pretty much the entire season last year. This is a couple of weeks. He might start in mid-October as opposed to like start of October. Like, he's gonna be fine. We're gonna see him soon enough, but that's why if you're not hearing his name, he didn't play. He's hurt.
We can move on if you're all right with that, Tim.
Absolutely.
Before we move on, though, we're going to talk about our sponsors for tonight's show. The first one being BetterHelp. If you're not familiar with BetterHelp, basically it's a way that you can. It's like basically like an app or a website, so to speak, that you get on, and it basically lets you connect to a licensed therapist, and you can go through therapy with somebody online. Some people do therapy because obviously it makes them feel better. It's a way to relieve stress. Just good, puts you in a good mental space. Check out BetterHelp if you have, let's say, issues at work or issues at home that you're trying to sort through. Therapy can be huge for that. I know people who've done it and they've had great success going through therapy. Give BetterHelp a check out. You can rediscover your curiosity or any of the emotions that you might be missing in your life through BetterHelp. You can visit betterhelp.com/THPN today and get 10% off your first month. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN. Now, David, let's go ahead and talk about the Wings because, man, we've got some news to talk about, or lack thereof.
Yes, lack thereof, as you said to start the show. 3 big names still without new contracts. Moritz Seider, Lucas Raymond, and Jonathan Bergeron. Beginning of the summer, I would have said, nah, it's fine. I'm feeling great. Like, they're going to get done. It's September now, middle of September. I'm starting to feel a little stressed. Like, I still am confident we're going to get contracts done. I think Yzerman knows that Raymond and Seider are our future pieces, like the lead of this team. But it's just about getting the right deal done. I was getting a little antsy when I saw that like our name kept getting linked to Max Pacioretty. And I'm like, please, we don't need to be signing this elderly man when we have our kids to keep signing. So I think it's going to get done. I'm hoping to get it done before the preseason starts. Both guys deserve, big contracts for the play they've given this team. I mean, Raymond single-handedly tried to force us into the playoffs last year. He put us on his back. So
yeah,
pay them.
So I understand why. Like, I've seen a lot of people online defend Steve Yzerman saying, well, the contracts don't have to be done until the beginning of the year, and it's not a big deal that they're not done right now. Plenty of other star players have gone this long into the offseason and not had contracts. I understand those arguments, and to a certain extent, I think there is some validity to those. But I think the broader thing for this is that Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider are core pieces for the Detroit Red Wings moving forward. These are not third-line caliber guys who you have coming up expiring and they're about to hit either RFA or the year before UFA status. These are guys who are core pillars of your franchise. Moritz Seider is literally the best defenseman the Red Wings have had since Nick Lidstrom, and I will debate anybody on that topic. Lucas Raymond is probably the closest thing that we have had to a superstar winger not named Dylan Larkin since Pavel Datsyuk and Henrik Zetterberg came through. These are not the players that you play hardball with in contract negotiations. These are the players who you talk to their agents, figure out what the market value is, and then pay those players.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say that I'm upset with Steve Yzerman, but I am upset.
I would be.
I'm upset that it's taken this long to get 2 of the core pillars of our franchise for the next 10 years locked up 2 deals when there's not really a huge question mark on either of the players. If there's a question mark on one, I think I would probably say maybe Raymond, just because he didn't really quote unquote pop off until the end of this year. But you know exactly what you're getting with Moritz Seider. You're getting a top pair defenseman who can play huge shutdown minutes, who plays 24 minutes a game-ish, plays all your special teams. There's no question mark with him what you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
I can't figure out why the Red Wings are dragging their feet with these contracts. The salary cap is expected to go up in a couple of years. So it's not like if they overpay Raymond and Seider by $500,000 a year, that somehow the team is uncompetitive for the foreseeable future.
I mean, let's be honest. Knowing the show's luck, it's going to get announced tomorrow.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. This is actually the perfect opportunity. Red Wings fans, you're welcome. We're actually recording tonight, getting back into it tomorrow morning. Monday morning, you'll see both of them. They got it done. Yzerman's a hero. That's because we have terrible luck and timing.
All
But
the time.
I mean, at what point do you really start sweating and wondering, is this Yzerman trying to play the Yzerman role that we have come to know, that like the name he built for himself in, Tampa Bay, what he's done over here? These kids, this isn't like negotiating with Larkin. They know their worth, they know their value, and while they might be willing to take a little bit of a discount, I would see Seider signing for 7.5. If they want him on a long term and not a bridge deal, 7.5 to 8.5, because you're not going to get Makar or Alex Fox or Adam Fox numbers because his offense isn't there. But so that's 9.5. He's not getting there. But between 7.5 and 8.5, that's where he's at right now. Raymond, it could be anything, honestly. Like, I loved him the back half of last year. I think he learned a lot from Kane. And you're right. When Larkin went down and they were struggling, he had the fire. He put that team on his back. He dragged them kicking and screaming. And maybe if you didn't have like 10 and a half, 11 million tied up between Cop and the other one that you've got, because you've got the two like middle six centers that are both pretty much the same player. That's what bums me out, is that some of these long-term signings that he did is why there's some issue here in my mind.
And that's kind of the thing for me, is like I understand like not throwing like the whole checkbook and throwing $11 million Seider's way, or throwing $11 million Raymond's way. I understand
no
that.
doubt they're not getting Draisaitl numbers or something like that.
Yeah, but I don't really think that it's a crazy idea that Moritz Seider's going to make $9 million-ish, maybe $9 million a year. Like,
I think he
top-pair
should.
defensemen who play all special teams and play 24 minutes a night, that's about what they get paid in the modern NHL, especially ones in their prime.
Yep.
So I could see him definitely making more than Raymond.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say he's around 9, and I think Raymond at the highest is about 7.9.
I mean, I could, again, it depends on if they want to go, if it's a bridge deal, I see Raymond getting $6 million for like 2 years or something like that. Comfer is the other one. I was blanking on the name. It's Comfer. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, I think if they do bridge deal, it's 2 to 3 years and you get a little bit of discount on that, but I don't think it's worth it. I think you lock them up now. If it takes $9 million to lock up Seider for 8 years or 7 years, you do it. That's where the league is going.
It's going to be higher in a couple years.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like how the Lions got it done at the beginning of the draft when we re-signed Sewell, Goff, and Amon-Ra St.
That
Brown.
was brilliant.
And then all of a sudden, this price is skyrocketed.
I mean, even Raymond, like, he is your top he's your top line number one star winger. At the very least, look at a comparable of like Nylander in Toronto. Say you don't want to go Marner, you don't want to go, some of these other people. Go Nylander. That's a top line winger. He's gonna get 7 to 8 mil at least. Like, you're lucky he's not pushing for 11. Well, maybe he is. Maybe that's the issue. I don't know. I'm not in the negotiating room. And it would stress me out.
Why aren't you there?
You're right. I'm so sorry. I'll go. It stresses me out that your future is in limbo right now, because Larkin's not your future. Larkin's your now. He's the captain. He's the heart and soul of your team, but he's not your future. He's not the leg. He's not the core in 5 years.
Yeah, in 5 years, he's not carrying this club, probably.
Yeah, it's those two.
You didn't hear that Kane had another surgery this summer that brought him back to 2010's Kane level? So please
don't play games with me. I can't handle that. If Kane pulls a Chelios and plays for another 10 years, because that happens. They go to the Red Wings, they get the Fountain of Youth, and then they have another 10 years of their life. It's great.
Yeah,
So
Juan Ponce de Leon went to the wrong place.
We could have had him back. I'm not bitter. It's fine. I've moved on. I'm an adult.
As you pull up like a high C juice box.
Yeah, exactly. I'm totally okay with this.
But no, that's the thing is like, again, like that's what's got me frustrated with this whole thing is the Red Wings, like they're not flowing with cap dollars open, but they are not so ridiculously close to the cap that they're like, we cannot hand out a $9 million contract because if we do, we can't make any other moves. Like the Red Wings are not that cap strapped yet. In 3 years, they might be, sure, after you have other prospects start developing and getting other contracts. But right now, that's not the situation they're in. And they've got no reason to sit here and string this process along.
The other thing you have to factor into that, Jordan, is in a couple years when those prospects are getting contracts, guys like
Andrew Kopp's going to be expiring. Ben Sherrod's going to be expiring. Jeff Petry's going to be expiring.
Justin Hall, Ali Mata.
Money will flow. The stressful thing for me about it is just how quiet it is. And we know how Yzerman keeps things close to the chest, and we don't know things are happening until, boom, it happens. Like Patrick Kane re-signing, like, it just happened.
What was it, 10 o'clock at night or whatever the news broke?
Snuck that one in.
It just happened.
Work of art.
So, like, that's the stressful part for me because I'm like, other teams, you hear, like, the pundits being like, yeah, they're working on it. It's any day now, blah, blah, blah. With Detroit, it's like, Yzerman had a barbecue sandwich today. I don't know what that means. It means maybe he locked them up. Who knows?
That sucks, guys. I like honestly, we can speculate all day, but again, we don't know which side is the holdup. We don't know how. I mean, clearly they are far enough apart that they haven't reached an agreement yet. I know that sounds obvious, but like, what that means is neither side is at a point where they are willing to compromise at this point. That would worry me. That is those are the two cornerstones until you've got Nate Danielson up, and I think he's your next main exciting person. Not that no disrespect against Marco Kasper. I think Danielson sort of jumped him on the depth chart. I think he's the really exciting center that you've got in the pipeline. Man, this is it. Like, I don't know. It's hard to get excited if those two aren't on board and bought in, and that Yzerman and management are not working with them as if they are the core.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great way to put it, Tim. With core, like, these are not the sort of players that you do this with, in my eyes. You do this with guys who are third liners, guys who are like middle six wingers or whatever. You should not be doing this with pillars of your franchise.
That's exactly what. Yep, that's exactly it. These are the pillars of your franchise. Again, say what you will. I know there's people out there that maybe doubt that Raymond in the long run has the durability or yada yada whatever. There's questions there. I don't believe him. I think Raymond is legit and the deal. But like, I get it. No one has those arguments with Moritz Seider. Seider is objectively, he is one of the top, like, number one defenseman in the league. Well-rounded, two-way player. Pay him. Lock him up. Like, You've got a litany of bottom-pairing defensemen. This guy has dragged people kicking and screaming to a positive Corsi. Like, pay the man. I don't know. That's so frustrating to me, and it's a reminder that Yzerman is brilliant, is objectively a very intelligent. He knows the game, he knows the management side, but he is mortal, and he can't just will people to take his deal. He is now faced with the negotiations of, oh, this is a side that's not working, and it was gonna happen.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that these are the two players it's happening with.
Yeah. I mean, if it was going to happen with somebody, it would be these ones because he doesn't control all the leverage. They have some leverage in who you going to replace us with. Like, we know our worth, and that's where the modern NHL is at.
Yeah. I don't know, just overall, though, just to conclude it, it's really frustrating right now for Wings fans that we still have question marks this close to preseason. It's frustrating because they're pillars of this franchise moving forward, and it's frustrating that we haven't really had a ton of updates either to even know where this process is at. We can move on though, but before we move on to our next topic, we're going to talk about our other sponsor for tonight's show, and that is DraftKings Sportsbook. If obviously football is going on right now, if you're a fan of that, you can bet on the NFL through DraftKings Sportsbook. So, for example, you had the game tonight. Who'd the Lions play? They played the Buccaneers this afternoon, right, David?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so like you could have bet on that game. You could have bet on the Titans and the Jets game. You can bet
Bears
on all
Texans
sorts.
If we're just
the
saying
Bears Texans
all
are
of our
playing.
teams.
Like you can bet on any game going on in the NFL. You can bet on stuff like touchdowns, field goals, all that sort of stuff is on DraftKings that you can bet on. Right now, you can score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. You can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. Again, that's code THPN for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL plus premium. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Bill Hill Casino and Resorts in Kansas, you have to be 21 plus. Age and eligibility vary by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible game resources, see dkng.com/football. NFL Plus premium offer only available to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus premium terms at nfl.com/terms. So the other topic that I want to talk about tonight, and this is not a happy topic to talk about, Johnny Gaudreau of the Columbus Blue Jackets and his brother were both involved in a car accident. Basically, they weren't in the car; they were hit on, I believe, bikes, correct?
Yeah, they were riding their bikes at like 8 p.m. on like a Friday night, and a drunk driver hit both of them and took their lives. It's an absolute horrifying tragedy.
And this is unfortunate it's the hockey community, like it's the hockey world. It's unfortunate that you're losing a prolific player like Johnny Gaudreau, one of those guys who was one of the only reasons realistically to watch the Columbus Blue Jackets because of how bad they were. But even just taking that factor aside, this is really unfortunate to see somebody who's so young in their life, who has a family who they're going to be leaving behind.
A child.
I will say it's been really great.
On the way.
Yeah, a child on the way. I will say it has been really awesome to see the outpouring of love, not even just from like NHL clubs, but other sports leagues around the world
100%.
Doing stuff to commemorate him. From what I hear, it sounds like there's already stuff in play to take care of his family after he's gone, which I'm glad. And also his brother was also in the hockey world, from what I understand.
Yep.
What was he, like a coach or something like that?
He had played. He was definitely still involved in the game. Yeah, my heart goes out to their families, especially, again, Gaudreau's wife and kids and the one on the way. Like, this is...
their sister who was getting married that weekend.
The next day. Like, it gets worse and worse at every level that you unravel this, and it's such an unnecessary tragedy to happen. But, Jordan, to your point, the one beautiful thing that has come out of this horrible event is the outpouring of love and support that we've seen throughout not just the hockey community, but just adjacent sports communities, even people that I know don't watch hockey. People have reached out to me like, have you heard about like this hockey player? Like, this is horrible. Like it is raising an awareness, not just about, drinking and driving, which there is an awareness, like we know about it. But also like bike safety too. There's so many different levels of this thing that are so gut-wrenching, but it has brought in through tragedy, we can come together, and there is a little bit of a light in that. And that's, the Columbus Blue Jackets, my heart goes out to that fan base as well, and the team, because that last year they had a tragedy where one of their goaltenders passed away in a freak accident.
God, yeah,
Like,
you're right. Oh,
the actual team itself, I can't even imagine what those players are going through. Somebody that they spent so much time with, and then having to do this again and process that kind of trauma again. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
it is, and it's something that could have been avoided. I mean,
Yep.
drinking and driving is one of the stupidest things people can do, and it infuriates me beyond belief. Um, like, why are you getting behind a wheel? Why are you drinking behind the wheel? Apparently, as well.
It's not that we don't know, right? Like, we know about this. We've been hearing the campaigns for years. We all know somebody that's been impacted by it, and yet people continue to make the choice to put themselves in a situation where they end up drinking and driving. That's the hard part, because I could go on
like,
about
when
that for
athletes do
hours.
it. When professional athletes that make millions of dollars do it as well, I'm like, you have the money to pay for someone to drive you somewhere.
And that's where Johnny Gaudreau was
And-
on a bike. Like,
Yeah.
the poor kid and his brother are just on a road they've probably done 1,000 times because they were back home. And also, again, just a reminder to everyone: be aware of cyclists. Be aware of bicycles. They're just trying their best. They're just trying to stay. Like, they're not going to win that fight. Keep an eye out. Come on.
Yeah, it's something that just it sucks, and it's something that could have been avoided. And I remember after it happened, I forget where I was, but you guys had been texting, and I was like, I couldn't see my phone like that entire time, and I was like, there's no way, like this can't be true, this can't be happening. And then like to see the courtroom video of the judge like telling the guy he's staying for multiple days and holding, and him like being annoyed by it, and I'm like, you just killed 2 people and you're annoyed, like
Right.
that infuriated me beyond belief.
I did feel bad because, again, this started to the rumors, which, again, that's pretty awful in its own right, that this started to leak out before everything was confirmed. But like, the rumors started rolling about like 11 p.m. midnight on like a Friday night. Nick and I were texting back and forth in the group chat. I think the rest of you were asleep because, again, we're on Central Time. But so, because he's the one that first let us know, and I started looking. But yeah, by Saturday morning, it was confirmed. I don't know. Just a reminder to, I don't know, say I love you to somebody that matters to you, because you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know. So take a moment to appreciate the people around you.
Yep.
Let them know.
That's a good ending note for this topic, Tim.
Yeah.
The only other thing I think I really have on our docket for tonight's show is, obviously we're about to jump into the preseason right now in regards to the NHL in general. Obviously, this is a Blackhawks and Red Wings podcast. Just a quick question before we close this one out. David, Tim, what prospect are you guys looking forward to watching the most during preseason this year?
That's so
Tim.
good.
Go ahead, Tim.
There's so many prospects I'm excited to watch. I think I'm going to opt with an obvious choice. Frank Nazar is who I'm most excited to watch, because there is the most possibility for him to either be in the NHL or be in the AHL thriving. Like, he's either in the top 6 in the NHL or he's driving Rockford. And so I think that's going to be the interesting thing to watch for him, of what's his development like this year. That's my answer. We scared David away. So Jordan, what's your answer?
I really want to see what, I guess you can kind of call him prospect still. I want to see what Marco Kasper does this year in preseason. He is the closest Red Wing prospect that we have to being a center at the NHL level at this point. I want to see how he does after the year of growing in Grand Rapids, the year of basically getting to play, high-end minutes there. And I want to see if he's capable of beating out a guy like Andrew Kopp for the 3C position on the Detroit Red Wings. If he can't, I kind of think that that's a scary thing that he can't do it right now. But I think that that is such an important question that the Red Wings need to have answered, is do they at least have a third or a middle 6 center, I would say, a middle six center coming through their pipeline who can at least maybe one day, if Nate Danielson doesn't make the transition, be a backup to Dylan Larkin after JT Comper's gone, after Andrew Kopp's gone. I think that's a big question that the Red Wings need to have answered this offseason or this preseason.
I love
We
it.
talking about Carter Mazer?
Marco Casper was Jordan's.
Casper's on my list as well. For me, one of our biggest weaknesses these last couple of years has been, for some reason, ruining goalies. The most recent, our beautiful baby boy, Alex Lyon, that we all love. Hopefully we can, not break him more this year.
Please don't.
But Sebastian Cossa and Trey Augustine really are two goalies that I'm hoping pan out to be like the Swayman Olmark for us, like the 1-2 punch, because they both have been good in the scenarios they've been in. I mean, Augustine's a gold medal winner, played for Michigan State, who was a great team this year and this past year. And then Cossa just oozes potential, and we've seen what he can do. So hopefully, these two can answer that problem in years' time as our net minding issues we've had since Howard.
Yeah.
And Howard wasn't even fantastic.
As I say, you kind of hurt him too, but
Yeah, he started it all. He started the pain.
Chris Osgood, maybe.
Jimmy Howard at least had a couple of years, though, where he
Yeah.
was at least like a serviceable starter.
You had a year or two of Mrazek before you ruined him, and we finally got him healthy.
And he's been okay, though, for you guys.
He's been phenomenal with last year. When he was actually healthy for an entire season, I can see why he was a highly touted goaltending prospect back in the day. Like, he's killer, but y'all busted him.
We're just really bad with our goalie toys. We just, slam
Make
right
up after
into
him.
Joes. Just
Or
let
you're gonna
G.I.
get
Joes
Jack
slam them
Campbell.
together. God.
I forgot that we acquired Jack Campbell.
I was going
Me
through your
too.
roster like 30 minutes ago, and I was like, oh my God, they've got Campbell. I forgot.
We got Cam Talbot, too.
Yeah, but
Cam
Talbot's at
Talbot
least
could be like a real
goalie.
NHL goalie.
Yes. We have Jack Campbell, the linebacker, and Jack Campbell, the goalie.
I don't know which one I'd rather have in goal for you guys, honestly. I'm so sorry. That's not nice.
Linebacker.
Jeepers. Great question, Jordan. I mean,
Yes.
the real answer is we've got a ton of prospects that we're excited to watch. And I know he's not a prospect, but I am going to round out, since Nick didn't get to have an answer. Lucas Reichel. He's not a prospect, but he is a young player. This is it for him. This is a make it or break it year to see, can he hang in the show? Can he hang with the Hawks? Because there's a lot of guys knocking at the door that are ready for his role. This is his year to show us, can he do it? So I think Lucas Reichel is, if you're going to be watching games this season, that is a storyline to follow. Can he do it?
Okay, so good answers for everybody.
Good
Everybody
stuff,
chose
good
somebody
stuff.
different, which I like.
Yeah, no, that was great. It's always a bummer when it's like Bedard.
Patrick Kane.
Great question, Jordan.
But that's going to be it for our show tonight. A nice short one, just because, again, it's the off season. Still, there's not a ton to talk about. But if you caught the show, we really do appreciate guys checking us out, giving a watch or a listen our way. If you liked what you heard, feel free to check us out. We are all over the internet for podcasting content. So feel free to give us a like, follow, share, retweet, whatever the social media currency is of choice on the platform you found us. In the meantime, you guys all stay safe, take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you guys back all here next time for another edition of the Stick Blade Podcast. Take it easy, and we'll catch you back here later.